Well, I'm probably not the first person to come up with this, but after looking around YouTube for a while, I couldn't find any instructional videos or pages on explaining how to do this. Making wheels out of 2 pop cans and some foam. I guess here's the more of a final product of what we're looking for. Put that wheel on a big Dollar Tree foam plane that I'm building. So let's go through some supplies just real quick. You'll need 2 pop cans. We'll be cutting off the bottom of those. I went and got digital calipers from Harbor Freight Tools. It cost $10 to $15, and they always have specials on those. Need a hot glue gun, scissor, knife, Sharpie for coloring the foam that will become the wheel, or the tire, I guess. If you don't want to get a digital calipers, you can just use a ruler too. That'll work just fine. This foam, all this foam is 5/8 backer rod, and I got 20 feet of it for $7. I think that comes in different colors too. Store that I got it from only had gray, so I decided I'd get gray and just color it. The first thing you'll want to do is just start out by taking a pop can and cutting off the bottom. So I'll get back to you as soon as I'm done cutting this bottom off. Okay, I got the bottom of the can cut off, and if you'll notice, I left a little bit of a ridge down here. That's so I can trace out where I want my final cut to be, to make it really nice straight edge. I just take a marker, just hold it at an angle, and just trace around the groove that's there. It's a little bit of a rounded corner, so it's easy to get messed up as you're going around. As you can see, there's a nice line just drawn around the inside of there. So then I'll take my scissor and I'll cut around that line. Okay, I went ahead and I cut out both of the bottoms of the pop cans. Simply these will just go together. Basically the bottom of each pop can goes together, and you get the insides of each pop can sticking out. Creates a nice wedge right there for the foam to sit in. Before we do that, I want to mark out the centers on these, on what's going to be your hub basically. To do that, just took my digital calipers, which again, you don't need the digital calipers. You can use a normal ruler if you want, but this is just going to be a little bit easier for me. Just measured the distance across there, and it's 64, about 64 and a half. So you cut that in half, and it's 32 and a quarter about. So I'll just bring this down to 32 and a quarter, somewhere about like that, and just hook that on the edge a little bit, and just make a little scratch. You know, over here going across where I think close to the center is. Just do that in a couple places just to get a decent center line marked, and do that on both of them. Just wanted to go over a method of doing it with a ruler as well. If you wanted to use a ruler, just measure the overall distance of it, or the diameter of it. This looks like it's close to about 2.5. It doesn't have to be exact, because you'll make several marks around the center, so you'll be able to see where the center is actually at. So I'm just going to make a couple marks at 1.25 inches off of one edge, and I'll just follow that around a little ways. Okay, so using the ruler method, I went around and just marked about 1.25 inches all the way around, and you can see I got this little outer perimeter there. And I just took and put a dot in the middle where I thought, about the center of those marks was. So I'll get those holes just marked. Take my X-Acto knife here and just put the tip of it right on my mark, and just give it a little bit of a mark. I'll come back later with the drill bit and probably put a better hole in there, but just wanted to get it marked out so that I don't lose the mark if the permanent marker gets rubbed off while I'm doing these other steps. I'll do the same thing to this other one. Okay, now that we've got both of the centers of these hubs marked out, now the next step is to just glue them up, or glue them together. It's a little bit tough to get these lined up just perfectly, but I just put a couple little dabs of hot glue on there and stick them together where I think they about go, and if it's wrong, you can pop the hot glue off and try again. Another option you have too for doing this is using a soldering soldering iron. I don't have any videos on how to do that, but plenty of people have pop can soldering videos online for making pop boats and things like that. The solder might hold a little bit better, but I've got a set of landing gear made like this, and I've never had any trouble with it popping apart. So I'm just gonna try sticking the hot glue on from the outside this time and see if I can get it to stick together okay and stay lined up. I'm just going to lay a beater on the whole entire outside of this hub, just to make sure that everything gets held together pretty well. This is actually a really light wheel because there's real thin aluminum on this pop can, and it actually is lighter than the wheels that I bought of the same size. So I'm not too worried about using too much hot glue for the weight. I'll just let that cool for a little bit, and then we'll start putting the foam on. Okay, the glue cooled real nice in there. My wheel is pretty straight. So the next step will be to put this foam in there. This foam is a little bit sensitive to heat, so I'd put some glue in there and let it cool just a little bit before you try and stick the foam down. For my wheel, I just stuck a little band in there and glued it down section by section. Just let that cool and just work your whole way around doing that. Okay, so we've got the foam glued on all the way around. We get to the end and there's that funny tab sticking out. What I did is I just took and cut this off like that, so you can see a little bit better where you need to cut it to get the trim right. Pay attention, this angle right here isn't quite 90 degrees to this curve. So I'll just cut this foam to kind of match that. So when this lays down, the top side needs to be a little bit longer than the base. And just cut it and press it down and see if you need to trim off more. Looks like it's a pretty good cut. And get me a nice seam right there. And I'll just put some hot glue in there and glue it down, see how it turns out. It might not hurt to put some pressure on these till they cool. This is where you'll notice that the foam is most sensitive to the hot glue. I noticed it kind of shortened up the ends of these two pieces a little bit, so I'm squishing it together here a little bit. But once it cools, it should be fine. Okay, this is pretty much the last step in making these wheels. I took a black Sharpie and colored my wheels black so that it looked like nice rubber, or not like a chunk of foam just sitting on two pop cans. My landing gear made out of plexiglass on my airplane. You can do that just by taking a strip of plexiglass, cut out the shape that you want for your landing gear, I guess, and then just I just took a lighter and heated it up, set it over the countertop, and bent it down. This is just small leftover scrap that I bent to show you guys. It works pretty well. It's a little bit on the heavy side, probably weighs a little bit more than aluminum landing gear would weigh, but it's pretty tough, works pretty well. And then I just screwed it onto my airplane. So here's what we're looking at for the finished product there. We got both of the wheels on my airplane there, just in the process of building it, but looks like it should work pretty well. They look real nice on there. Looks like a good professional wheel, I guess. And I'm excited to go try them out.